Oh, hello, Internet. We are alone again. Oh, what a creepy way to start. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, just Keaton, alone once again for the Drop Pod. However, Joe is not sick, as far as I'm aware. Fingers crossed that I do not jinx it. It's just that both of us have pretty crazy schedules this week. Joe, most especially. Maybe more on that next week in the channel update. But yeah, that is the situation for this month's episode. So, and I actually couldn't really think of a way to describe this in like a sentence or something. So I'm just going with game developers versus the internet. Basically, I'm going to be covering a couple of situations that went down this month. And before I start, I should probably say that I realize that this is not a new thing that's happening between developers and internet personalities, but it is just something that happened recently that I thought made an interesting topic. And obviously, I'm not ignoring that this happened before. I'm just highlighting these situations in particular. But anyway, to rewind a bit, let us talk about the catalyst behind this whole discussion. So earlier this month, a game was released called Bear Simulator. It was a successfully kickstarted project. I think it made 100,000. I think like the original was like 20,000 or something like that. And yeah, the game came out, and PewDiePie, the PewDiePie that is, made a video on it. And the video was not necessarily the most positive of things to come, if you will. Yeah, basically, PewDiePie made a video on Bear Simulator, and it was pretty negative. Now, we're gonna get into the contents there for a second, but as far as I'm aware, and I've tried to follow up on this, but as far as I can tell, this is where it ends. The developer, in response to PewDiePie's negative video, decided he's just not gonna make games anymore. He couldn't really deal with the drama and the negativity that came as a result of that video, and decided to just not gonna do it anymore. I think the last update was they're going to finish up whatever's left or what was promised for Bear Simulator, and that's it. They're done. Out. And it's always unfortunate to hear when, you know, someone who wants to do what they love, which in this case is video game development, is met with some crazy critical response, and they decide just screw it. You know, we're probably never gonna see Fez 2 because Phil Fish didn't like the response that he got on the internet. But that's a whole different story. So yeah. So let's break it down a bit here. So let's rewind here. Let's go back to the whole PewDiePie situation. And so let's look at this from the content creator / YouTube personality side first. So as someone who makes YouTube videos, I will say that I didn't necessarily care for the video that PewDiePie made. And first and foremost, I am not a PewDiePie hater, and you know, I have no ill will towards PewDiePie, anyone who watches PewDiePie, whatever. If you like his videos, awesome. More power to you. Keep supporting the people who entertain you the most. Having said that, it's interesting because everything that I read about, not PewDiePie the character or the personality that is on display in those videos, but the Felix, who I'm not going to even try to pronounce his last name because I'll screw it up and everyone will laugh at me, but Felix, the person behind PewDiePie, seems to be a generally cool guy. He seems to be level-headed, down to earth, seems to be a pretty cool guy. A cool guy that I would probably love to hang out, you know, have a couple of drinks with and just shoot the breeze. Seems like a cool guy. So it's odd that he would make such a negative video. The other weird thing that struck me with the PewDiePie video is that he decided to take a stand at this point in time against simulator games, which, for those of you who do not keep up, are often jokey, broken, just insane things. I think one of the best examples of this is Goat Simulator, which was not even supposed to be an actual release game. It was a prototype, a wacky prototype that people were like, hey, we want the full game of this, and that's where Goat Simulator started, and the rest, as they say, is history. And as a result, a lot of crazy simulator quote-unquote games came out. There's also the whole slew, the ridiculous amount of simulator games that come out of Germany, I think it is. You know, like Farming Simulator, Train Simulator, all of those simulators. Apparently Euro Truck Simulator is a pretty good one though. But nonetheless, there are a lot of simulator games out these days, and not all of them are quality. Can totally attest to that. Not a lot of them are worth your time. However, again, it was weird that PewDiePie decided to take some kind of stance against simulator games at this point in time, considering A, the way he goes about doing it, and B, considering that is not his forte. Like, I'll just get this out of the way right now. I'm pretty sure the people who are watching PewDiePie videos are not there for consumer commentary. Consumer ethic commentary is the way I should put it. You know, if I'm gonna go for a YouTube or an internet personality who's known for being pro-consumer, who's looking out for the consumer from an industry standpoint, it's probably gonna be someone like Total Biscuit or Jim Sterling. Probably, at the very least, probably not gonna be PewDiePie. Just saying, I feel like anybody who watches PewDiePie's videos are looking for an entertainment video, not an informative commentary on the current situation, the ethical situation of the video game industry and what that means for consumers. Just saying, I could be totally off base there, but that's just my assumption. So, at the very least, I feel like this was a very weird video for PewDiePie to make. Here's the breakdown of the video. Basically, PewDiePie decides to play Bear Simulator, thinking that it's probably going to be something broken and wacky like Goat Simulator or the plethora of other broken simulator games out there. Turns out, it's not much of any of that, really. It's a very bare bones, basic simulator about playing a bear in the woods, out in the wild. And numerous occasions he's talking about this not being an entertaining video. Sorry, he wanted to make something crazy and wacky and he wishes that he could get it out of this video, but it's just not working, it's not happening, yada yada yada. And that's pretty much the entire video, is just PewDiePie's descent from excited to play this game to just I can't play this game anymore. It gets all the way to the point where in the same video PewDiePie tries to actually get a refund for Bear Simulator, and when he's unable to do that, he flips off the bird. Actually, he flips off the camera, presumably flipping off the developer, and that's where it ends. Now, maybe I'm just projecting here, but as someone who, you know, makes videos for YouTube, I can kind of sympathize with what the basic situation there was, in that, you know, you looked at a game, you thought, oh, maybe I can get this kind of content out of the game, and then it'll be a fun video. And when a game doesn't live up to that expectation, it can be difficult to readjust and figure out how you're still going to make the video entertaining. It happens. I can attest that it happens. There were several videos that I've tried to do for games that just did not work out, either in the recording process where the game just wasn't responding in a way that I could make entertaining, or I couldn't salvage in the post-editing session. So it is very much a thing, and it's always a terrible thing when it happens, because if you're on a tight schedule, you either have to cobble something together last minute, or you have to rearrange your schedule or something. It really makes things much more stressful. So I can kind of see where PewDiePie would decide, like, okay, I'm gonna release Bear Simulator on this date and I need it all to work. And when it didn't work out, he went to plan B, which is try to salvage the video in editing, which was what you got. And I feel like as a result, in order to make it entertaining, there was this entire spin of, we are now going to take a stand against simulator games that are terrible and do not live up to people's expectations. And I feel like that was a little bit of an unfair attack on Bear Simulator. Regardless of whether or not it was the worst simulator you've played or not, it's a little disingenuous to make so many other videos prior on broken simulator games and then decide, because you couldn't get a good video out of this one in particular, to somehow have some kind of chip on your shoulder for simulators suddenly. You know, that's just my sort of interpretation of the situation. It could be totally wrong, but let's look at the way that things ended up turning out. So as a result of that video, again, the developer decided call it quits. Now, in response to this, PewDiePie took down the video for a while, and then put it back up with a disclaimer sort of letter thing explaining the situation, in which basically he tries to sort of sidestep and kind of put the blame back on the developer, being sort of hiding behind the fact that the developer should be able to take criticism, which is a completely justified and totally valid criticism to the developer's response. However, this is PewDiePie we're talking about here, and whether or not he wants to accept it, whether or not he wants to acknowledge it, the reality is that yes, he went through a lot to get to where he is, but at the end of the day, from a general public perception, he is a titan amongst many people worldwide. And there are certain terminology for people like PewDiePie in like industry lingo, like they are the tastemakers, they are the trendsetters, they are literally usually the people that marketing will go to try and sell a product. So when PewDiePie, of all people, is just like, this game is terrible, that puts a pretty big sticker of poop on your product. So whether or not he meant for that to happen, it should be no surprise to anyone, PewDiePie especially, that this was a situation that unfolded before him. Now, there's nothing wrong with making a critical video. The problem is, PewDiePie's video was not a critical video, and I think that's my greatest issue with the whole situation, was that PewDiePie tried to wave it off as this was a critique, but it was not really a critique. He just pretty much said there was nothing here for him to do, and therefore it was a bad game. But when you look at the developer side, he really didn't set out to make a crazy 100,000K level game, and that doesn't excuse him, but it's an explanation. This sounded like it started as just a basic personal project that he wanted to make, and it just blew up into something much more. And I think it was even mentioned in the announcement where they weren't going to make any more games that they actually regret going through the Steam greenlight process, and they should have just, released the game to the backers. It's just a terrible situation altogether, It was an unfortunate thing that happened, and yes, as a developer, you need to realize that if you're putting out a product, especially if you're charging for it, you need to be able to take the criticism. But as a developer, I can understand and realize, especially when it's more of a personal thing where you're just trying to make something, to see it get taken down by such a behemoth in the media age, in the media in general, I guess is a better way to say that, is someone as big as PewDiePie to pretty much denounce your hard work. That can be a pretty tough pill to swallow, no matter who you are. And when it's someone who's having to go to Kickstarter to get like a 20,000 investment from strangers in general, that's a much more difficult pill to swallow. And honestly, I hope that this is something that the developer can kind of just learn from and come back stronger and still try their hand at game development. Because, and I'm sort of just going to shift from content creator to actual person who has made something. As someone who has made something, a video game in particular, I can honestly sympathize with where the developer is coming from. This game was actually streamed by a popular Twitch streamer. Now, unfortunately, the Twitch streamer who was playing it struggled for quite a while. And as a result, this started to anger the streamer's chat. And they didn't know I was in the chat room. And as a result, I saw a lot of terrible things said about me. And, again, none of these people knew who I was. And they really had no reason to. But again, words hurt, man. Ever since that situation, I've been very, very hesitant to make another game. Just as someone who wanted to make games and just got smacked down hard by people who were, understandably following the opinion of someone who they looked up to. They weren't necessarily trying to be malice out of spite. They were just reacting negatively because someone they enjoyed watching wasn't having fun. And I can totally understand that, but at the same time, as someone who's, doing it just out of love, wanting to just make it because they can, and you know, they want to learn how to make it and get better. You know, it really doesn't help when they want your grandmother to die. You know, that's probably the nicest insult I could probably repeat without having to get awkward with things. So yeah, in general, I think the developer needs to understand that it's not personal, and I hope that PewDiePie learns from here on out. Maybe just make entertaining videos, and if it doesn't work out, try something else. Try another game. Or in general, just don't be an a-hole about a game that you don't like, you know? I think that's an interesting thing is, and as a content creator, I try my best to, with every video I do, whether I like the game or not, present as neutral an experience as I can. You know, I'm gonna play the game and experience it the way that I'm just going to experience it, and you as the viewer can take away whatever you want from it. You know, if it interests you, by all means support it. If it doesn't, hopefully you had fun watching me play the game. You know, that's the most I can ask for. Now, that's not what every content creator out there is looking for, but for me personally, that's what I hope for. And I think, I don't know, maybe that would be the more positive, better route for PewDiePie to go. You know, maybe just present a more neutral look on every game that you play. But, you know, PewDiePie has a million whatnot subscribers, billion at this point, I don't even know anymore. So maybe I'm just farting into the wind. And it's clearly, I don't know, maybe what he's doing is the right way. Maybe I should be getting more mad at every game I play and making negative videos. I don't know. Now, anyway, we just went into a weird, dark reflection period there. Anyway, let's flip it. Let's flip it for a second here, and let's talk about something a little more interesting, a little more hesitant to talk about it because I don't want to be sued. But nonetheless, we're going to try and talk about it in the most neutral way possible. And yes, so as I mentioned earlier, Jim Sterling, someone who has a very polarizing personality, a character that he plays. He's very critical about everything, pretty much everything that he covers, and whether or not you agree with everything that he has to say on a subject, you know, it's very easy to respect where he's coming from. You know, he's always been a very pro-consumer sort of personality, like Total Biscuit, but he's had a much more charged and brash way of expressing that commentary. And, you know, as a result, the lovely independent studio Digital Homicide learned firsthand. There was a game that Digital Homicide released that Jim Sterling didn't necessarily like too much, and as a result, he had some pretty negative things to say about it. Now, it would take me quite a while to go over the entire epic story of Digital Homicide versus Jim Sterling, but I highly recommend you guys try and track it down because it is a crazy story. Basically, it turned into a one-upsmanship of Jim Sterling poking the Digital Homicide bear, the bear poking back, and at the end of the day, they were just calling each other names, and it's come to fruition with Digital Homicide suing Jim Sterling for like $10 million in damages. That's right, $10 million. Wow. So basically, it's an independent developer deciding we ain't going to take some YouTube internet personality shtick, and we're gonna just try and hit you with some legal business. Unfortunately, they don't necessarily have the strongest of cases, at least from what I've read. A lot of it is just pretty much Jim Sterling said some mean things about us and we don't agree with them. But yeah, they've done pretty much everything you probably shouldn't do as an independent developer. Like, say what you will about the whole situation with PewDiePie versus the Bear Simulator developer. At least the Bear Simulator developer didn't issue like DMCA takedowns or even do a quarter of the things that Digital Homicide has done in response to Jim Sterling. It is a textbook in how to not deal with criticism. And that is basically what Jim Sterling did. The difference between Jim Sterling's critique of the Digital Homicide game versus the PewDiePie's take on Bear Simulator is Jim Sterling goes into it with the intent of being critical and calling out pretty much scumbag tactics where they be. Allegedly scumbag tactics. Because some of the criticisms that Jim Sterling had were, obviously the game didn't run well, it wasn't very good, not very intuitive, all of these critiques, and it so happened to be that apparently maybe they even stole some assets. I don't know. That's still, I think, up in the air. I don't know. It's, again, the amount of just insanity that has gone on between these two is just so deep that it's hard to get all the crisp details. So some of it may be hearsay, but still, it boils down to Jim Sterling said a lot of things about Digital Homicide, not only one game, but covered a lot of the shady, quote-unquote shady things that Digital Homicide has done. And basically, Digital Homicide has decided to say, you know what? We don't like you anymore. We're gonna sue you for $10 million. And who knows, by the time this goes up, maybe the entire thing got thrown out and we're just all having a laugh at just where we are in the world. But I think it is an interesting sort of way to look at the industry going forward. It's clear that internet personalities and the content creators and Twitch streamers, all of these people are becoming much more integral to video games and the industry and all of this. Like, Twitch itself is becoming this whole new monster where Twitch streamers are going to be able to play Dark Souls 3 super early just because they're Twitch streamers, and Twitch is a big thing. That is awesome. And you have all these sponsored deals on both Twitch and YouTube and all of this crazy things happening between industry and just personalities. And I think as it grows, the relationship between personalities and developers, it grows more intimate, and I think that it's harder to a certain extent to really differentiate between business and personal. I think if you are an independent developer, don't take it so personal, and the other thing is, and it's not to discredit any of the bigger named YouTubers out there, but you have to remember that a lot of the bigger named YouTubers, if they can't get good content out of your product, you're either going to be ignored or you're not going to get as favorable a response as you would hope. It is pretty funny as a smaller channel in the YouTube sphere, when I go to try and contact developers about, covering their game for the channel, there are a lot of times where developers will just not respond to us at all. But then I'll go to their Twitter and they're trying to hit up PewDiePie, Markiplier, all these huge YouTubers, and being like, hey, you guys want to play our game? And I'm like, hey, we're not as big, but I think our channel is perfect for your game. I think our viewers would love to see your game in action. Why are you ignoring us? But that is the unfortunate sort of relationship that is growing between developers and YouTubers, and it's got both positives and negatives. The positives are obviously being able to watch personalities that you like play games that you're anticipating, or maybe games you don't even know about. That is really great. That is great for exposure. That is great for a lot of things. On the other hand, it can also be a detriment if the personality doesn't like it. But I guess that is the gamble now. It's going to be interesting to see just how big an impact that has going forward, because again, with things like Dark Souls 3 weeks before the actual US release, some US speaking Twitch streamers are going to be able to play a part of Dark Souls before anybody. That is insane. That is a huge window. That is a very, very big window of opportunity for the bigger name Twitch streamers. In 3 weeks, those streamers are going to have knowledge, and their viewers are going to have knowledge of a game that people are just going to get their hands on, and that is pretty insane. And that is something of Dark Souls caliber now. That's not even talking about the hundreds of thousands of indie games that are trying to get known through Twitch right now, There are a ton of promotions nowadays with publishers and developers trying to work with streamers and content creators to just get their name out there. So in summary, it's going to be really interesting to see the way that marketing sort of changes as streaming gets bigger and the developers sort of become more reliant or more responsive to said videos. You know how many more developers are going to hang it up because their favorite YouTube personalities don't like their games? You know, how many YouTube personalities are going to inadvertently cause developers to call it quits? You know, how many more Phil Fishes are we going to see in the future? How many more bear simulators are we going to see in the future, simply because of internet personalities? And I know I say that as someone who makes YouTube videos. At the end of the day, I just gotta say, for me personally, I don't think I'm in the position to be the one to tell you whether or not a game that you see me play is worth your money or not. I can pretty much just show you my experience, and I want you to decide for yourself. Not only because I want to be that kind of content creator, I don't want to be someone who pushes an agenda on you. I also can sympathize with the industry that I'm covering. You know, I sympathize with the people who spend hours upon hours of just labor trying their hardest to make something that they hope people like. And I guess if you've never made something, it might be harder to relate to. I don't know. I just feel like we're in this together. As cliche as that sounds, as the relationship between personalities and publishers / developers gets closer, everyone needs to remember that we're all human, and that we should be encouraging each other to continue doing what we do, so that we can all do what we love and hopefully entertain the masses. I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm some kind of Miss Universe over here, but again, I just want to see unity. You know, I just want to see unity between two industries that I guess I find myself in now at this certain time in my life. And I just want to see both sides be able to coincide in happiness so that everybody wins. That's my goal. Hopefully everybody can eventually win, and we won't have any more situations like this, so I don't have to sit here talking to myself, trying to ponder such situations and convince myself I'm not being naive. I don't know. Anyway, yes. So that was a nice chunk of just a whole bunch of brain mess. I hope some of it made some coherent sense. Yeah, as always, I would love to hear your opinions. What do you feel about the whole situation, if you have an opinion at all, you know? Or, you know, if you're a developer and you've second-guessed yourself because of, you know, how you've seen a YouTube personality respond to a type of game that maybe you were trying to make or something. I would just love to get more insight on whatever is on your mind. As always, I would love to see them in the comments, so please leave them in the comments. Would love to see those. And yeah, I think that is a perfect place for us to call it on this Drop Pod episode. Again, hopefully Joe will be able to join me next month. There will hopefully be some interesting tidbits of information coming up in next week's channel update, which I still need to come up with a better title for. But yeah, so as always, there is a lot more to come, and hopefully none of it encourages a developer to quit making games. But anyway, where am I even going? I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to get back into some kind of hole I've inadvertently dug. Anyway, that was the Drop Pod for this month. Thank you as always for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next month, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys then for another Drop Pod. Bye.